Most people believe they are the ones pulling the strings. They are not. Every time someone insults you and you react, they pull the string. Every time someone ignores you and you chase, they pull the string. Every time someone goes cold and you begin explaining yourself, they pull the string. You are not free in your social world. You are a puppet, predictable, readable, and completely controllable. This week, we introduced 4 concepts: listening as a weapon, absence as leverage, mirroring as seduction, silence as dominance. Each was a single instrument. Today, we conduct the full orchestra. What you are about to learn is not a collection of tactics. It is a lifestyle, an architecture of presence. We call it the way of the social ghost. The social ghost is not a recluse, not a misanthrope. The ghost is present in every room. They listen more than they speak. They appear less than they are desired. They reflect what you want, not what they feel. And when challenged, they do not move. To be around a social ghost is to feel both seen and unsettled. You want more of them. You cannot understand why. That asymmetry, that quiet imbalance of desire, is not an accident. It is architecture. You are leaking. Every uncontrolled reaction, every overshare, every desperate explanation, every anxious follow-up message you sent while knowing you shouldn't have, these are leaks. Energy, mystery, social power bleeding out through every crack in your composure. The ghost seals those cracks, one by one, pillar by pillar. Let's begin. There is a neurological fact that most people use to embarrass themselves every single day. Talking about yourself activates the same dopamine pathways as food and sex. Let that sit. The act of speaking about your own life, your opinions, your stories, your problems, produces a measurable chemical reward in the human brain. This means people are quite literally addicted to being heard. Harvard neuroscientists confirmed it. Self-disclosure activates the same dopamine system as cocaine. Now consider what this means for you. Every time you walk into a conversation and let the other person talk, really talk, you are giving them a drug. They don't know you're doing it. They just know they feel good around you. They call it chemistry. They call it connection. You call it information. The 80-20 rule of social intelligence is deceptively simple. Speak 20% of the time. Listen 80%. But this is not passive listening. This is forensic listening. You are not waiting for your turn to speak. You are cataloging. What do they keep returning to? Which subjects make their voice rise? What do they avoid? Where do they hesitate? What do they brag about? And what does that brag actually reveal about their insecurity? People tell you everything about themselves, constantly. Not in their words, in the pattern of their words. The colleague who mentions their accomplishments in every conversation is terrified of being underestimated. The friend who always calls themselves brutally honest is seeking permission for their cruelty. The person who constantly talks about loyalty has been betrayed and is watching to see if you will do the same. The 80-20 listener hears the subtext, and the subtext is always more valuable than the text. After a conversation, most people cannot tell you 3 concrete things they learned about the other person. They were too busy formulating their next sentence. The ghost never formulates a next sentence while someone is speaking. The ghost is too busy learning who they're dealing with. because knowledge is not just power. Knowledge in social dynamics is the entire game. Here is the practical application. In your next important conversation, ask one open question, then go silent. Not politely silent while waiting for your turn, completely silent, completely present. You will find that most people, when genuinely given the space, will tell you more within 5 minutes than they ever intended to. They fill the silence. They fill it with the truth. We are taught from childhood that being available is a virtue. Answer quickly. Show up always. Make yourself easy to reach. We are taught wrong. Availability is not generosity. In social dynamics, unlimited availability is a weakness and a silent signal. It signals that you have nowhere else to be, that nothing is more important than this, that you were waiting. Scarcity is one of the 6 core principles of influence. What is rare is perceived as valuable. What is abundant is taken for granted. This is not a theory, it is the operating system of human psychology. Apply it to yourself. The person who always responds within seconds trains others to expect immediate response and to feel nothing when they receive it. The person who sometimes takes hours, sometimes a day, sometimes a week, trains others to wonder. And wondering is the beginning of desire. The law of absence states strategic withdrawal increases perceived value. In relationships, romantic, professional, social, your presence has a price. When you give it freely and endlessly, the price drops to 0. The ghost understands this with a coldness that most people find uncomfortable to accept, because most people confuse presence with love. The ghost confuses nothing. The ghost calculates. Think about your professional life. The colleague who stays late every night, answers every email within minutes, and says yes to everything. They are not indispensable. They are a utility, reliable, invisible, unremarkable. The person who is selective, who protects their time, who says no without explanation, who is occasionally unreachable, creates a subtle but persistent anxiety in those around them. Where are they? What are they doing? Why didn't they respond? That anxiety is not weakness. That anxiety is respect. The ghost does not disappear randomly. That is not mystery. That is chaos. The ghost disappears deliberately. After a moment of high value, a great conversation, a successful project, a moment of real connection, the ghost pulls back. They let the memory of that moment breathe. They let the other person miss them. They understand a fundamental law of human attention. We do not value what we have, we value what we are about to lose. The ghost always leaves the room first, not rudely, not dramatically, simply earlier than expected. And in that early departure, in that small, calculated incompleteness, the ghost leaves something behind that money cannot buy. A question. Why did they leave so soon? What are they doing right now? When will I see them again? 3 questions nobody ever asks about the person who always stays. Every person you have ever met is missing something. Not in a broken sense, in a human sense. The man who projects absolute confidence is missing the feeling of being truly understood. The woman who talks endlessly about her strength is missing someone who will acknowledge her pain. The loudest person in the room is missing the experience of genuine, quiet attention. We are all, in our own way, holding out an empty cup. The ghost sees the cup and fills it. Mirroring is often reduced to body language. Match someone's posture, their tone, the pace of their speech. These things matter, but they are the surface. Deep mirroring is something more profound. It is the act of reflecting back to someone the version of themselves they most want to be seen as. The confident man who needs to be understood, you do not challenge his confidence, you understand him. You are the first person who does. That is a level of influence that no amount of charm or charisma can replicate. This is the part of this philosophy that demands the most from you, because it asks you to set aside your ego entirely. Your desire to be seen, to be interesting, to be validated, that goes into a locked drawer. You are not here for yourself. You are here to understand exactly what this person needs and to become, for a moment, the person who provides it. Not through lies, not through manipulation, through genuine, targeted attention. There is an argument to be made, and it is a fair one, that this is manipulation, that using empathy as a tool is a form of exploitation. We will not hide from that argument. But consider, every skilled communicator, every great leader, every person who has ever made you feel genuinely heard was doing a version of this. The difference between manipulation and mastery is intent. Are you seeing someone's vulnerability to exploit it, or to understand them more fully? The ghost chooses understanding. But the ghost does not pretend the information gathered has no value. There is a concept in psychology called felt understanding. It is the feeling that someone has not only heard you, but seen you, that they understand the part you never said out loud. Most people experience this once, maybe twice in their entire lives, from a parent, a partner, a therapist. The ghost delivers this deliberately, and the person who receives it remembers the ghost for the rest of their life. The mirror of desire, applied correctly, makes people feel something rare. It makes them feel found. In a world of noise, where everyone is broadcasting and almost no one is receiving, the person who truly receives becomes magnetic. Not because they are impressive, because they are safe. And safety in a world of social performance is the rarest luxury of all. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wrote this while managing an empire at war, a plague killing his people, and senators actively working against him. He did not write it from a monastery. He wrote it from the battlefield. The Stoics were not retreating from life. They were mastering their reaction to it. And in the modern social battlefield, this mastery is the final pillar of the ghost's architecture. Someone insults you in public. The reactive person, the puppet, feels the string pull and jerks immediately. They defend, they attack, they explain themselves, they go cold, and it is obvious to everyone. Every one of these responses does the same thing. It tells the person who insulted you that they have power over your internal state, that they reached inside you and moved something. And once they know that, they will do it again. The law of response is this. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies your freedom. Your difficult colleague, your passive-aggressive partner, your competitive friend, they do not get to collapse that space. The ghost expands it. They receive the insult, the manipulation, the pressure, and they breathe. Not dramatically, not visibly, internally. And in that breath, they choose. When someone disrespects you, you have 4 responses available. You can react immediately, which is exactly what they want. You can respond calmly and directly, measured and effective. You can delay your response entirely, which signals you are not on their schedule. Or you cannot respond at all, which at the right moment is the loudest possible answer. The ghost has no default. The ghost reads the situation and selects. That selectivity, that deliberate pause between feeling and action is what makes them unreadable. And what is unreadable cannot be manipulated. The Stoics called it apatheia. Not apathy in the modern sense, not indifference, but freedom from passions that override reason. The state of feeling everything and still fully choosing how you act. This is the difference between a person who has no emotions and a person who owns their emotions. The ghost feels everything. They show only what they choose to show. And that choice, that small internal decision in the moment of pressure, is the most powerful social skill that exists. The person who cannot be rattled, who absorbs pressure and returns it as calm, does not just win individual exchanges. They win the metagame. Because eventually, people stop testing them. Not out of respect necessarily, out of the quiet, confusing recognition that there is nothing to grab onto. The ghost does not leak. And without a leak, there is no leverage.
4 pillars, 1 architecture. Now, how do you actually build it? Here is your 7-day challenge. Not a productivity system, not a habit tracker, a calibration. Day 1, the silent inventory. Have 1 important conversation today. Say less than 30% of the words. Afterward, write down 3 things you learned about the other person that you had never noticed before. Day 2, the disappearance. Leave 1 social context, a group chat, a meeting, a gathering, earlier than expected. Say little, don't explain. Notice how it feels. Notice how others respond. Day 3, the forensic listen. Choose the person you understand least in your life. Ask them 1 question, then listen completely. No advice, no comparison, no "I know exactly what you mean." Only questions, only listening. Day 4, the delayed response. Every non-urgent message you receive today, wait twice as long as you normally would to respond. Not rudely, not dramatically, simply later. Notice the stories people tell themselves in the gap. Day 5, the mirror practice. In your next significant conversation, identify what this person most needs to feel. Understood, respected, seen? Give them exactly that, without telling them what you're doing. Day 6, the provocation test. Seek out a mildly uncomfortable situation today, a difficult conversation, a moment of friction. When you feel the reactive impulse rise, breathe. Count 3 seconds internally, then respond, or don't. Day 7, the review. Sit with your journal. Write down what changed, not in others, in you, in how you move through rooms, in how much you reveal, in the silence you now find comfortable. Then keep going. The social ghost is not a character you perform. It is a level of self-possession that most people will spend their entire lives walking past without ever touching. It does not require you to become cold. It requires you to become contained. It does not require you to become distant. It requires you to become selective. It does not require you to stop feeling. It requires you to stop broadcasting every feeling you have to everyone who might use it against you. The most powerful person in any room is not the loudest, not the most impressive, not the most available. It is the one who could leave and everyone would feel it. Become unforgettable by learning when to disappear.